Okay, so here we are with exercise 1-2-2. This one is pretty much the same as 1-2-1, so why don't we just go through and do a different melody. I'm just going to delete that range if you want to see that again. It's just C to G. Once again, that's the soprano range, which is a standard range for voices, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, or SATB. You may see a lot. But we'll just delete that to get it out of the way. So why don't we do something different? We'll start with quarter notes. And we'll just start. We've got this first chord, which is a 1 chord, and we're in C major still, just to keep it easy. So we have C, E, and G. And in this one, why don't we try to come up with some, a motive that we can repeat in the second bar. So now we're starting to think not just in terms of one note to the next, but we're starting to think of the entire form of the piece. And later on in the course, we'll talk about form and where to repeat and how to make things logical. But for now, we're just going to kind of use our own ideas about this. So we've got, why don't we start on E? And then why don't we change it to eighth notes over here? So we'll go C and G. Now, in this next one, we've got a 5-6 chord. So the 5 chord obviously will have G, B, and D in it, but with the 6 in the bass, that's the B, which is the third actually of a G chord. It gives it a very kind of it allows us to have a stepwise bass, which is a nice bass movement, but that probably means we want to stay away from having a B in the melody. So in order to use the same kind of rhythmic motive, why don't we jump up now to a D and then do another eighth note pattern here. You can see now the shapes look the same. Now in this next one, we could maybe try to flip it around a little bit. So instead of going down, we'll go up. And then why don't we try to speed it up a little bit? So now in this next one, we're going to use only eighth notes. And then here in this last, or second to last bar, we'll jump back to quarter notes to kind of slow it down. So now you can see the arc of the piece. Now, I didn't list out all the different chord tones in the exercise, the actual exercise sheet. I have you write them out here just so you can not have to think about both at the same time. It's good to try to split up any mental tasks that you can into separate tasks. So you do the thinking first about what chord tones you can use, and then you actually compose. But after a while, you don't really have to think about it. But as I was saying, so we've got this motive. We repeat this motive. We flip it around here. We have an increase in surface rhythmic activity. So instead of a quarter and 2 eighth notes, we have all eighth notes. That kind of speeds it up. But then we change it up. We slow it down. So we have a decrease in surface rhythmic activity right here. And it's just quarter notes all the way to this last note, which is a C. And it leads to kind of a restful state. So let's listen to what this sounds like. I think that's actually a pretty good melody, so we'll leave it at that.